All right. So yeah, Zach, thanks for joining me again for this interview. The first question that I want to ask you, first and foremost, can you just share a little bit about your background and really what inspired you to become a franchise coach?
Okay. Well, I had a very successful corporate career for a number of years. My last company, I spent almost 20 years with them. I thoroughly enjoyed the job. It was a great corporate gig. The unfortunate part was I was a father of 3 kids and I was away all the time. And, I just got to a point where I really felt I loved my family more than I did the job, even though I really did like the job and the company I worked with. So I thought that I'd probably look for something to do that, I could leverage some of those skills in. And so I started to look around and actually started in the consulting field for a bit and then kind of realized that that wasn't really where I wanted to be, mostly because the customers that I was looking at were small to medium-sized business owners. And really, when did they want to meet with me? Early mornings or late evenings, and that kind of didn't fit with my lifestyle either. So I started to look again, and that's where I found the company that I'm with today, and have been with them 21 years next month. And I'm a franchise consultant. It's a career ownership coach with the Entrepreneur Network, the Entrepreneur Source, and it's just been a fabulous journey.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's great that you have that experience in the corporate background, because that's something that I think a lot of your clients can probably relate to you with. They're coming from a corporate background, and you can give them a lot of advice and insight as to what that transition looks like, going from corporate to business ownership. So that's awesome. Perfect. Now, when working with clients, Jack, what is your process for understanding their goals and skills and also their financial needs before you go ahead and recommend them to a franchise model?
Well, I think the first thing is I come at this from a coaching standpoint. So I really want to make sure the person's coachable. And, because not everybody is, including myself, depending on the subject sometimes. I really want to learn about them first. I really don't care about the financials in the beginning, because I find that when we start talking dollars, we don't listen as well. So what I really want to understand from a person that's thinking about a change is why. And why don't they want to stay doing what they're doing, or why are they even considering maybe getting into their own business? Or maybe I'm talking to somebody that hasn't even thought about business ownership, but they've been looking around for that job and haven't been able to find it, and they've been downsized so many times. So I really start off my process by really explaining what I do, A through Z, so there's no surprises. And my first couple of meetings with the person is really just to get to know them. So I like to understand, what do they like doing? What don't they like doing? What do they consider to be their personal strengths and their weaknesses? We all have them. Sometimes our weaknesses, we don't know what our weaknesses are. So we need to have a conversation about that. I know when I looked to buy my business, I had lots of questions. I had lots of concerns. So I also want to understand what some of those concerns are. Then we also use some tools that really help us understand, what are some of their goals. So I have them do an online little quick worksheet that really helps us focus just strictly on their goals. I really want to understand that. I also do behavioral studies at that point. It really helps me communicate better with them if I know what kind of person they are and how they like to be communicated with. But it also helps me understand what maybe some of their blind spots would be, and to really help them. And the type of behavioral research we do, they end up with a very large document of things all about them. So there's lots of coaching in there. Whether we end up working together or not, it should help them move forward. In my second meeting with the person, I go through all of that. I should have a profile built at that point that really does help me understand, about their goals, their needs, their expectations of ownership. I really do want to understand the person. And it's at the end of that second meeting that we really have that conversation about, is this going to work for both of us? What kind of expectations do they have about me, but also what are my expectations when I invite them into my practice? I really do want to make sure that they're going to be engaged, that they're going to work with the different businesses that we talk to, but they're going to be open to the different options, that they're not showing up with all the answers, to really use this as an opportunity to learn. I usually tell people that I really try to be curious and ask lots of questions, because through the questions, we'll be able to slay that fear dragon that people have and really throw some answers in there. But every business we work with is going to have a step-by-step process to take them through. So I need them to agree to do that, so that they can actually turn this into an opportunity to learn. If they agree to that, then the next thing I'd like to understand is some of those financials, to answer your question on the financial side. I work predominantly anywhere in North America. I've done a little bit outside of North America, but most of my business is in North America. So when it comes to financing, it's a little different depending on what country I'm in. So I want to understand that. So, I'm going to try to understand a little bit about their net worth. I want to have a conversation with them about affordability. Depending on which country they're in, there may be some differences on how we might be able to get financing. So I want to talk to them a little bit about that in case I have to bring in some experts to maybe help them understand some of that. But at the end of the day, if I understand what their net worth is and what they're kind of thinking they might be able to afford to purchase into a business of their own money, then that'll help me as I start to look for businesses for them. We do have a lot of conversations on education, awareness, what the whole discovery process looks like. But as we're exploring possibilities, what type of businesses are we looking for? So we kind of take them through a whole process of, what are the different types of businesses we could look at? Are we looking for a single of something? Are we looking for multiples? Are we looking for, an empire builder, or just what type of businesses, so that I can kind of zero in on that? And that's when I start my search.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, I know the Entrepreneur Source has a super comprehensive strategy to do this process. And I think with your expertise, that's really great to hear that you're not just jumping in to match someone with a franchise right away. You're really getting to know who that client is and determine, is it going to be a good match, first of all, for you guys to work together, and then that better helps you find the right model for them. So I think that's an excellent process. Really great to hear that. I guess on the other side of things, rather than the client, how do you evaluate and kind of vet a franchise before you're actually comfortable with recommending them to a client that you're working with?
Well, we have lots of education sessions. Yeah, we have lots of education systems within our system where I can spend a couple of hours every week just listening to different business models and what they're doing and how they go to market, and what their competitive advantages are, what makes them different. I do attend all of our own shows, our own conferences, and we invite them all to come to those conferences to help us learn about their models. To me, it's really about taking my client and figuring out which models may be able to deliver for them. I don't work with the business and my client. The businesses will work with them directly. I continue to work with the client behind the scenes, really to make sure that they're getting the answers they're looking for, keep them focused on their goals, but at the same time, be that feedback loop to the franchisor in this case, to make sure that they're getting the answers my clients are looking for, to make sure that it is an actual environment where everybody's learning, and to really use the businesses as a sounding board for some of their thoughts, and vice versa, so that they can actually look at them as partners down the road. So it's a complete loop that we continue to work on. But my focus is finding the right business and helping my client get to a point of clarity. And that may not be a business. It really may be, I'm going to remain as an employee. And so it's my goal is to get them to that point of clarity. And sometimes it's moving them into a good business.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think, again, the Entrepreneur Source does a really good job at helping coaches, consultants like yourself kind of vet that franchise. So you don't have to do everything, which is really great to have that support in your system. Another question, if you're comfortable sharing, do you have an example of a challenging client placement? And if so, how are you able to work with that client and find them the right fit?
I've had a few of them over the years where sometimes like you'll build a profile, you'll understand the client, the goals, the needs, the expectations, and then life changes and life gets in the way. I've had clients that for medical reasons we've had to change our shifts. We have to start to look at businesses that fit their new life. I've had clients that have started to go down the path and then they get in their own way. And so we have to talk about perceptions and how do we turn them into questions. I don't think there's, if I've got a client that is open and curious, then I don't look at the challenges as anything more than another opportunity to try to help them open up. I've had clients that have gone all the way through to the end and had a real tough time pulling the trigger on, I want to do this. So, the best thing is just to slow it back down, go back to what have we learned, and keep them focused on what they've learned, and realize that the only way you can overcome fear is through knowledge. At the end of the day, you have to trust yourself. I've had some people that, they really think that when they're investing in something and they're worried about losing it, but maybe they've been downsized about 3 or 4 times, and they've made that decision to go to work for a company that ended up downsizing them, and then their nest egg is shrinking. That's the same kind of investment that's been, hasn't really paid off for them. So sometimes just bringing them back to reality and realize that it is an investment. And when it comes to franchises, that franchise fee is a deductible expense of the business. It's just like going out and buying a computer. It's not, throwing money away. And it's really what kind of value do you get for the money? And usually it's just kind of bringing people back to getting the value. And if you don't know the answers, this isn't the right business until you get those answers. So let's keep going. That's about the challenging thing, is to keep people slowed down enough not to fall in love too soon, and hopefully not fall out of love too soon because of perceptions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a really good point. And I think the fear thing is definitely a common hurdle for a lot of people, but I think that's where your expertise really comes into play, making sure people are being realistic and staying on track. It's something that would be really challenging to do on their own without having a consultant or coach like yourself to guide them. So yeah, it's excellent that you provide that guidance throughout the process.
I don't think a lot of people realize how important it is to talk to existing owners also, because that's where you can actually, if they can do it, I can do it. That's where that starts to come from. And it's hard when you're only talking to just the business or to your coach. If you can talk to some real life people that are doing it, that's how I found my business. I listened to the company. There wasn't anybody in my area that was doing it that I could go have a coffee with and learn about it. The company really did have some great folks. I had the franchise disclosure document at the time. I was able to reach out and start to talk to people. And I talked to as many as it took me to get the confidence that, yes, I can do it. And I encourage my clients to do the same thing.
Yeah, that's a great point. I do agree. It's always so much different actually speaking to the person who does the thing that you might be doing. So yeah, that's a great point. Another question, and this is more on the financial side of things, but how do you tailor your approach for clients who maybe have different or varying financial situations or business background?
I think it really comes down to, from a financial standpoint, where's the money going to come from? And so if I'm answering the question correctly, if I've done a pretty good job of kind of understanding where their current standing is, how much money's in the home equity as an example, if that's their plan, is to use the homeowner's line of credit, and what's realistic. If they're using, retirement funds, like in the United States, a 401k rollover type program, how much is in there, and does that make sense on the investment standpoint? If it's here in Canada, the Canadian small business loan, how does that fit for them? So I really try to understand some of those things and then reach out to the experts they need to talk to. And I can point them in those directions. That's not what I do, but there is lots of experts out there that can help them if they need credit repair. I had a call just before this meeting where the person's got a huge desire, but got a terrible credit rating. So we know that they're going to be looking for a loan. So we kind of moved into a credit repair kind of conversation. And then there's some people there that I'll put them in contact with that'll help them fix that credit rating so they can get on with their dream. And, our process is one where we can stop and start based on the needs. And, I'm not in a rush here. I just want them to end up in the right place and not really sweat all the pieces. We can do it one step at a time.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think that's another valuable thing that you bring to the table is having those connections. And like you said, in the United States, there's that 401k rollover option. There's tons of different funding options or opportunities that, I think a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of, or they don't even know how to get started with. So that's definitely something that you can, again, help guide your clients with, which is really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything from, SBA loans right through to credit repair. We've got lots of people that they can reach out to and learn. And it's really all about learning to make sure they make good decisions.
Yes, for sure. I would totally agree with that. Now, this is one of my most favorite questions. Can you share with me a particular story where your client, they ended up choosing the right business or franchise and they ended up finding success in that? And how proud did this make you feel as a franchise coach to know that you really helped someone fulfill their dreams?
I have a few that come to mind, and many of them I still am in contact with. When you've been in the business for over 20 years, I still have some of my first clients still in business, still doing the same business they did when they purchased with me. But more recently, I had a client that ended up in a business that this client took a long time to get to the finish line and find their business, and more because of health problems. They had a back injury. They had pneumonia a couple of times. Just slowed down the whole process to them. They had a death in the family. And what would normally be a 3 or 4 month kind of conversation to find the right business, we were probably double that. And, they finally got into the business. I was really, really pleased to get an email from them. It was a few months ago that, they actually were brought up onto stage at their conference and recognized for having one of the largest sales in that whole business. And the letter I got that actually talked about they never would have done it without this kind of a help. Those kind of letters really mean a lot. And I love reading my own LinkedIn as far as some of those recommendations people put up there that have been in, the businesses that I have helped them get into. I've had people that have come back and purchased other businesses. I can think of one lady that I work with that was a rookie of the year, and the next year she called me to help. Can I help her get out of that business because her husband was being transferred and she would like to go with him? And they actually relocated to another part of the country, and she ended up purchasing another business, and we sold that business. So that lady I've actually worked with 3 times. So it's really nice that you can build those relationships and people find value in what you do. And yeah, you do feel proud.
That's amazing. I think you're an incredible coach, Jack, and that's so great to hear. I'm sure that it feels really good to know that you introduce someone to something that they probably, like you said, wouldn't have otherwise considered or ever did, and you ended up changing their life. So that's incredible. One last question that I would like to ask you.
Exactly.
What do you think are kind of the most common misconceptions that clients have about franchising, and how do you take the approach to address these misconceptions?
I think a lot of people that are thinking about getting into a business, they usually start at a place of, I don't have much trust here. And, is this going to be a real business? Are they just trying to take my money? So getting them to slow down and to really understand, if we're looking at a franchise, the value of the franchise disclosure document, that if there's any litigation, it's in there. But the good thing is that document, they have to have all the costs, so nothing's hidden. It is really about a relationship. So having a list of all their current owners and their contact information and people that have left the system within the last couple of years, they'll be in there also. But it's really getting the client to be curious and not judgmental. And I think a lot of us start off being very judgmental because we're thinking somebody's going to sell us something. And the reality in franchising is it's not a sale. Mm-hmm. Like you're buying the rights to use something, and it's a licensing agreement. But it's a two-way street. And I always coach my clients on, it's not all about you. It's about the businesses also. And we want to make sure that, the business wants to make sure you're going to be the right person to carry their brand. You know, are you going to be somebody that can be respected, holding that brand? You want to make sure that you're looking at the company. Do they have the same kind of value system you have? Do you feel comfortable, because they're going to be your partner? And I think getting people to realize this is a partnership. You're not working for them. You're executing with them, but it's a partnership. So, you know, be curious. And just, that's probably my biggest thing that I try to convince people, is to be open, to learn, and we can get to the answers.
Yeah.
And trust.
No, that's a good point. And I think you're meeting with a lot of people that probably do come from the corporate background, and they've never considered this. So it is a little bit foreign to them, but I love your approach, just kind of going slow, not pressuring or rushing anyone into making a decision. I think that's a really good way to kind of tackle the process. So yeah, thank you so much for answering all of those questions, and I hope that you're going to find it valuable. Was there anything else you wanted to chat about, or?
No, this has been fun. I really appreciate it. Thank you for reaching out to me.
Yeah, I